So previously on the channel, I had a 2007 Toyota Tundra. It was just your basic 4x4 pickup. I had 33-inch tires and TRD Rock Warrior wheels that had been powder coated red to match the same color of the truck. It had a camper shell, and that was about it. Just basic setup for camping. I took that to Colorado once, and that was really all I got to do with it, other than some camping locally. But right now I've got some stuff going on in life that need to focus on. It's going to keep me from doing any long distance trips for the time being, but we're going to do some camping close to home, and this is my daily driver, so it's not going to get really anything crazy done to it. Just a few things to help with accessibility and to provide some storage in the back that these really tend to be lacking. So this is a 2013 Lexus GX460. The 460 comes from the 4.6 liter V8. This is basically a smaller version of the engine that was available in the 4.7 liter Tundras, and it's the previous generation of these was the GX470, which had the 4.7 as well. It's a very good, long life, reliable engine. It's quiet. It's not the best on fuel economy, but really I just need something that's reliable and capable. Compare that with the 4 liter V6 that the 4Runner has. It's about the same fuel economy, but it's a much smoother powertrain. Now the thing that's great about the GX is that a lot of times you can get these for really cheap compared to a 4Runner with comparable years, especially if one needs a fair amount of work like this one does. Needs new shocks, needs a windshield, needs all the preventative maintenance that should have been done over the last 30,000 miles. All those things you can use as bargaining power when it comes time to buy. So I got this for really cheap compared to everything else that was available in the market. I was comparing it to an FJ Cruiser that had I think just shy of 200,000 miles on it for the exact same price, and it had never had any work done to it, so it needed all of the PMs done as well. But this had just shy of 100,000 when I bought it, and it's a much smoother, quieter ride than the FJ was. FJ is a cooler vehicle, but it's not practical compared to the Lexus here. The other thing to look for if you're wanting to get a cheap GX is just shop for the most basic stripped down model that you can find. This particular one is just the base version. They come standard with leather interior. It has navigation. It has the ability to connect your phone via Bluetooth. It has heated seats, and that's it. There's no adaptive cruise control. There's no parking sensors. It does have KDSS, but that's pretty standard on these as well. But other than that, I can't think of anything else that I wish this truck had. My previous car that I had before this had parking sensors on it, and it was annoying because it would beep like crazy when you're nowhere close to anything. As stated before, it gets the name from the 4.6 liter V8. I'm missing the front trim through here just because I'm doing some work on the vehicle. Like I said, I'm doing all the preventative maintenance that should have been done over the last few years and hasn't been done. So I just have that in my basement just so it's stored out of the way. But it's nice and smooth. It gets you on the highway reasonably quick. It's not like a super high-powered V8, but it does the job. It gets about the same fuel economy as the 4 liter V6 that's in the 4Runner, and it's just a nice smooth engine. It's the 4.7 and the 5.7 that were in the Tundra are a variant of this engine, from my understanding. I'm sure somebody's going to correct me on that, but there's a lot of stories about people getting 300 to 500 to almost 1 million miles out of this engine. So that's really what I'm looking for, is something that I can keep for the long term and is going to be a good, reliable platform for me to have for a while. I would have loved a RAV4, but to me that 2.5 that they have in the new ones is not quite enough power. It's not proven itself to be reliable yet in the long term. Plus, as you've seen on some of my other videos, especially on my TikTok, I have multiple sclerosis. I also have a spinal cord injury, so I want something that's going to be safe for me in the event that I do have an accident. I feel better with a body on frame versus a unibody like the RAV4. But otherwise, you can see that the engine bay layout is fairly similar to the 4Runner. Need to clean it, but it's still kind of chilly here in eastern Nebraska, so I haven't had a day that I can get out and actually give it a good cleaning yet. So moving to the interior. See, these do come standard with leather. It's perforated and it's cracked. These seats are not comfortable because they have just over 100,000 miles on them, so they're smashed down. The lumbar support is not nearly enough. You can see it's got just a very slight contour on it. So it's probably due to be replaced, but that's gonna be a junkyard special. I'm not gonna spend $1,000 on new seats. So being the base model, doesn't have any extra features on it, just the ability to turn off your traction control. And then on the passenger side here, it does have your center diff lock, and it does have the ability to turn off your side curtain airbags, which is pretty standard on Toyota off-road vehicles. Your navigation display, and the navigation that Lexus used in this is stupidly outdated. Back seat, it's got good legroom. Now the one problem that these do have is a complete lack of storage in the rear, which I'll get into in a second here. But I have a trauma kit and I have a set of jumper cables that I am constantly needing to shuffle around whenever we have people riding with us. So if we have stuff in the cargo area, it has to go up between the the front seats. So that's a major pain. But if I can get it to adjust here, hang on a second. Sorry, it's kind of hard to do one-handed, but there's a slider like your standard basic seats have that allows the second row to slide forward and back to allow room for the third row. And then this handle here will actually release the seat back. That's kind of a cool feature. Makes it easier to get in and out versus the tumble seats that you had in the older ones. You don't have to take car seats out to get to the third row. And one of my favorite features is the rear door. It opens to the side, which is kind of cool when you're having somebody at the store help you load something up in the back. They're like, oh, that doesn't open upwards. It's silly that you get that reaction all the time. But I'm gonna pull the rug out of here. So your switches for the third row seats are here, and then there's another set on that side over there. But as you can see, it's a little slow, but with the third row up, there is no storage in the back of these. You can put the seat a little more upright, but I mean, it's ridiculous how tiny it is. It's almost to the point that it's not worth having the third row seats. But really, there's this tiny cubby hole on the side here. There's a storage cavity down here that just has a cargo net in it right now. And then on the passenger side, there's nothing. Those vents are for the rear air conditioning, which I'm not 100% certain if this one has that yet. And then if you have the Mark Levinson sound system, your subwoofer will be there. This has your toolkit for changing your spare. And the first aid kit. So there's an inexcusable lack of storage in the back of these. So the solutions that I've seen involve removing the third row seats, which we'll probably wind up doing just because of the fact that we almost never use them. The prefab drawers basically take up this whole space, and they're the same height as the second row seats when they're folded down. However, those systems run anywhere from $1,600 to $2,500, and I'm not paying that much to add drawers to the back of my vehicle. That's something that I think that for probably about $100 I could build a simple solution that'll at least look nice, be durable, still be good for camping, and be able to accommodate everything that we ever need to haul around, including our dog. So back in the second row here, does have cup holders built into the armrest. They are a 80-20 split. But one of the things that's kind of cool on this, sorry, you're looking up my nose, you can fold down the center section for narrow, long objects. I think that any storage solution that we put together in the back here, I'm going to design it in a way that we'll have the ability to put the cooler on the left side here, and then we can fold down that side if we need a little bit extra room, give the dog ability to walk front and back, and it'll still maintain the armrest. So I think that's the smart way to do it. It does have these vents for the second and third row. I am not 100% certain if we have the rear air conditioning. I still have to figure out how to determine if we do or not. So one of the few changes that I do plan on making is to the steps on the side here. They're from the factory tucked in pretty close to the body, but with my being partially disabled, that's not enough for me to step on. I can barely get the ball of my foot on that, so that's not going to be useful for getting things off of the roof. And it's such a small step that I really don't even use it when I'm getting in and out of the vehicle. So I usually just completely skip over the step. So most of the rock sliders that I've found, I've spoken to several manufacturers, they protrude about the same distance as this does. So I'm going to have to find somebody that can make me something slightly customized, even if it's just adding like an extra 1.5 inches or so to the tube. I need something that's big enough that I can get my entire foot on, because I'm not gonna be able to use that for getting stuff on and off the roof. I'm lucky that the previous owner did buy it with the crossbars, and they left them on there when I got the vehicle. The headlights are a little clouded. This is the non-HID headlights, which is another reason why this thing was so cheap, because that was apparently pretty standard on these. Not much else to really discuss on it. It's this beautiful claret mica. I'm not sure how well it's showing up, but you can see that it's kind of a really dark burgundy, and it's got a heavy metal flake in it too. Scratched like crazy. So that's all stuff that you can use when you're negotiating on buying a vehicle. It's all the cosmetic stuff, especially if it's been sitting for a while. You can say, hey, give me a better price on it, let's talk. It does have fairly new tires on it. I think these were done probably about 25,000 miles ago, so shortly before I bought it. These are Cooper Discovery AT3 light truck. Traditionally, I have absolutely hated the AT3s because every vehicle I've had them on, they were terrible in the slightest off-road conditions, and it's not something that I really planned on keeping. But I don't know if it's something different with the light truck or just because they're so new, but they did actually surprisingly well in the winter time. And we didn't have a lot of snow this year, but everything I drove through, didn't matter how deep it was, it plowed right through it and kept going. Clover, did you get yourself stuck? You did, didn't you? So I got her unstuck. So. That's Clover. She is a St. Bernard Great Pyrenees lab mix. She's 12 weeks old today, and I think she's going to be a really big dog when she's full grown. My girlfriend found her through friend of family, and she's been absolutely fantastic. She's super sweet. A little rambunctious. She's still a puppy, but she's learning quick. She likes her squeaky toys. One thing I forgot to mention, this other cool feature, is that the rear window opens up like that. So on the 4Runners they roll down, but on the GX they flip up like this. Won't be able to do any high-speed stuff out in the desert if we get to that point, because I don't want the window to be bouncing up and down. But just driving slowly around a campsite, this would be nice for the dog to be able to stick her head out the back window. Clover, what you need? And one last thing on the interior is I have to figure out a solution for mounting my phone. I have a RAM mount temporarily set up down in the bottom pocket there, but it's kind of a pain. It gets in the way of the shifter when you put it back into park, and it's really out of your line of sight if you're using it for navigation, because the navigation system in these the navigation system that Lexus used is terrible. It's like the really old Garmin system where you had to select like the city and state first. Well, actually first you have to select the region of the country, and then you select your state, then you select your city, and then you type in your address. I usually just use the navigation on my phone. It's so much better that way. But they have those gigantic screens that you can replace everything, like from the navigation screen down through your HVAC controls. And while those look cool, they kind of give you that Tesla effect. They're not reliable. Everything I've read about them says that they're glitchy as all get out, and sometimes they don't even turn on after a while. Only feature I wish these had was blind spot monitoring. That is kind of nice, especially on days when I'm having a lot of back and neck pain and I kind of limited my ability to check the lane next to me. Also, the previous owner added load leveling airbags in the rear coil springs. The Schrader valve is right here, which is really the most in the way spot that you could possibly put it. I would have put it over there, but when it comes time to do the shocks, I think I'm going to probably change that up. I'll probably take those bags out and then relocate that. If I keep it, I'll relocate it for sure, but I don't know. I still got time to think about it. There's a number of aftermarket companies that make storage solutions and like camping tables. Hang on a second, I gotta sneeze. Oh, allergy season. So there's a number of companies that make storage solutions and like drop down tables and stuff for these that they're neat, but they're really expensive too. So I'm gonna come up with a solution for that, because that is a ridiculously tiny amount of room to store things. So yeah, I think that's really everything I want to show you on here. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.